Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to get into the discomfort zone and why it's so very important to always be challenging yourself and making yourself a bit uncomfortable to gain much more spiritual rewards. That's coming up next. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of the Wizard Factory video podcast, where you subscribe to weekly videos exploring deeper understanding of the universe and ourselves. My name is Logan Hart.
And I'm Brian Easterday.
If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, help us remember the tribe, and hit the like button as well. And let's get right into things. We're getting into the discomfort zone. That's a little Archer reference there, but you hear this a lot, get out of your comfort zone. It's very cliche, but a lot of things that are cliche are also very true, and that's why they're cliche. But oftentimes, though, those cliches, what happens is the nuance gets kind of lost to it. It gets sort of oversimplified, and people are, like, yeah, I've heard that before. They stop like appreciating the validity of it for themselves practically. So we're going to get into the discomfort zone and why it's the catalyst to your awakening. So I'll open up with a quote real quick by G. Michael Hopf. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. What this is really saying is that, and this isn't like sexist or anything, it's, it's kind of like an action-oriented thing I kind of see, because, we're talking about that strength, that sort of Saturnian energy. So that's a good way to look at it, that without the whole gender aspect, if that doesn't quite, make sense. So strong men create good times. Strong men are capable of preserving goodness and freedom and protecting that, because entropy is a force that is always trying to break down complexity and beauty into the more simple, the more mundane, the dead, right? That's what it's a constant, it's a universal law. So strong men create good times. They preserve that. But good times create weak men. Why? Because without challenge, without struggle, you become disempowered, you become domesticated, you become just like, you don't know how to be your own father, basically. That's how I like to look at it. When it comes to self-discipline, every man and every woman should be cultivating self-discipline. They need to have a dad inside their head saying, get up, quit being a fucking little lazy bitch and do something. Like, quit putting your feelings before action. Take action. That is what creates change. You're not empowered when you're not taking action. And then, to final line, and weak men create hard times. So the weak men that are a product of that stagnation, that lack of challenge and pushing onwards past boundaries into new uncharted territory, then as within, so without. Weak insides is going to allow the outer world to begin to crumble and return to that chaos that we were talking about, and which makes things difficult. Then you have to become a problem solver again, and then you have to use the intellect, and you have to take action, and that's going to strengthen you. So the final line, the unspoken line, is it all connects. It's the Ouroboros in a cycle.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And yeah, I like that you brought up Saturn, because as we see Saturn, not only is it the Karka, the planet of cosmic law and things, but it's that planet that it's just very neutral in its nature, that it doesn't care one way or the other. It just is. It's just that which is. It's that Saturn puts the pressure on you to say that, nope, this is just life, and I have to learn how to deal with it. Otherwise, I'm going to be crushed. So very, very much like a Saturnian lesson of being able to step into your discomfort zone, as we're going to highlight here, is being willing to like say, yes, this is a challenging situation. Yeah, this might be very uncomfortable for a while, but I'm going to learn something from it. I'm going to gain this from it. Like, and this is what we're going to be looking at, of like, when is stepping into your discomfort zone actually to your benefit, and like that, how that can really be a catalyst for your spiritual awakening and your growth.
Yeah, and I kind of came up with the concept for this episode as I recently took a little camping trip to Turner Falls, and we were walking around barefoot in the river, which is full of rocks. And I'm not really a barefoot type of person. I don't spend a lot of time walking around barefoot, much less outside, to toughen my feet up. So my feet are very, very tender and soft like a newborn baby, and it's pretty funny, but. So, but I'm like walking around, I'm like trying to toughen up and, be strong. And, but like even choosing my routes and things like that, the soft, squishy mud or the pointy, sharp rocks. And I'm thinking like, what is the real benefit of running away from that pain? Yeah, it hurts, but beyond that, what else? Okay, pain, cool. What else? That's it. If you can get over that in your own mind, get used to being in pain, get used to being in discomfort, then you'll, like metaphorically, you'll begin to callus. What is a callus? It's a physical reaction to external stimuli where the skin says, hey, I'm kind of weak and flimsy right now. I need to toughen up. Do what the callus does, right? To your own emotional and mental fortitude. Toughen up, like push through that stuff. In other words, don't let something deter you just because it's uncomfortable, just because it's going to hurt, etc. And that's what was literally striking me in that moment as I was kind of observing myself trying to shrink away from the pain. And I was like, how often do I do this? If I was really observing myself, trying to know thyself, constantly paying attention, how often do I do this? And I want to become more self-aware and try to minimize that. And we'll get into more of like discerning the useful and the not useful a little bit later. But, that's the general idea.
Yeah, I love that you use that example, because I think there's a lot we can get from that. Because the idea of like choosing your path, because like, yeah, this path could be a little bit more discomforting. It can be a little bit rougher, but at the same time, by not choosing to like go with that, if you're always choosing like the easy path in life, the soft path in life, you're not really ever going to go through those challenges to build those calluses like you're talking about, because you're always choosing the easy path. Much in the same way that if we're always taking like just the easy route, in life, we're not going after those challenges and those struggles that actually are some of our best lessons. Like some of the most useful things you can learn in life you'll learn from going through extremely difficult situations. And those serve a purpose. Like that's part of cosmic law. Like that's why we like in the pagan perspective, we don't discount those things. We see those things like, even though they're difficult, they're still beautiful experiences, because they're really helping you forge yourself into like a new, imagine like a blacksmith forging a sword. You have to take the raw material, you have to heat it up, and then you have to like literally beat it and fold it and cool it down and heat it up. And it's this whole kind of alchemical process that you're going through, but it's a very intense process. So that's not a comfortable thing to go through. But is it worth it? I think in the long run, if you look at it, that definitely is. And the temporary pain is far outweighed by the benefit of the lessons and the growth that you'll experience by being willing to step into that discomfort zone and challenge yourself.
Exactly. And what that was bringing up for me too is how only by doing that are you ever going to build your confidence. I spent a long time, the majority of the years of my life being very not confident and doubting myself all the time and having social anxiety and things like that. Why? Because what you just said, Brian, I wasn't going after those challenges. You can't fake confidence. You can't just trick yourself into believe. Just believe in yourself. No, it doesn't work that way. Confidence comes through action, proving to yourself that you have it, that you have what it takes, that you are enough. You can't. That's not guesswork. You have to know it, because confidence, true confidence, has to be unshakable. That's the whole point, is not letting anyone else impose their truth or their will upon you, because you're a sovereign fucking being. And that's only going to come about through aligned action, not sitting around in your feels. Like, feel your feelings, don't suppress them. That's, there's a balance there too. But then, like I said, be that father in your own mind of just like, okay, you fell down, sucks, feel that, now get your ass up and get back on the horse. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't wallow in that victimhood. So, and then this really relates into kind of being a spiritual warrior, which we speak about too. People might cringe when they hear that word warrior, especially the new agey types that, like guns are icky, and, it's not about going around looking for fights or trying to hurt people. It's about being a warrior in terms of being at battle with ignorance, injustice, like actually being a force that is alchemizing everything into harmony for all beings, not the will of the ego. And that's like the justified warrior, essentially, which again is kind of a masculine energy. So that's why we're portraying it like the quote talks about men. Again, it's not about gender. It's about being that strong, fearsome warrior that is never afraid to back down. It always comes back to fear. That's why we put our emotions first and don't take action. We're afraid. But what if this? What if that? Yeah, but if you don't, that's not a what if. It's you will. You will be stagnant. You will be weak and paralyzed and powerless until you change it.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the concept of the spiritual warrior, because it's something we talk about a lot, but it very much is, that's like a very foundational part of the mindset of the spiritual warrior, is being willing to, like, not that you're just not just willing to go through challenges, but that you actively challenge yourself, like you're stepping into your discomfort zone willingly. I think Odin is a wonderful example of this. We've spoken about, his sacrifice on the tree of life on the Yggdrasil, where he hung himself. He sacrificed himself unto himself in order to gain the knowledge of the runes. And, if you look into mythology, he takes the runes, screaming, "I took them up." It wasn't just this easy process. It was a sacrifice. It was uncomfortable. It was difficult. If you look at his other sacrifice in the story, where he's sacrificing his eye in the well of Mimir to gain wisdom, he plucks out his eye. Like it's a sacrifice. It's uncomfortable, but he's doing it to gain that wisdom, to better himself, to transform into something else. That's really the mindset of the spiritual. Like, if you really want to understand a spiritual warrior, understand like Odin as an archetype. Very, very, very good archetype to tap into for this kind of energy. And it's that woad, it's that vigor, that ecstasy for life, and the like learning new things. Like, that's that passion, that fuel that they're like, oh, this is uncomfortable. So fucking what? Like, bring it on, because I want that. Like, that's the attitude you have to start to embody when you go after that. And that's very, very different from the victimhood mindset that many people kind of get stuck in. But, we have another project that we're going to be looking at that kind of very much in depth.
Yeah. Dude, that's badass. And, again, ask yourself, how often are you sacrificing your eye for that gain, for that expansion, for that awareness? That should be the highest pursuit. You cannot underestimate the power of pain as a catalyst to your awakening. Take it back to the barefoot story. Why did I have that epiphany? Because my feet hurt. Because I was uncomfortable, and my brain said, oh, wait, and it activated my awareness of, what can I extrapolate from this experience to be more empowered? And that's exactly what happens. And that should be going on all the time. And, I struggle with this sometimes. Right. Every day is different. You've got so many variables that affect your mood and how tapped in you are, and there's days you're going to feel off. But it's not about that perfection. It's about striving for the ideal, the perfection.
Mm-hmm.
You should always be striving for that, paying attention. But again, motion creates emotion. So if you want to awaken more, if you want to be more tapped in and get those downloads, walk around barefoot in the river on sharp rocks, do something to get into the discomfort zone and shake your awareness out of your fucking sleepwalk.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. It's a choice.
It's like when someone's choosing, like they want to improve their body, so they choose to go start out a workout regimen. Like they know, there's going to be pain and discomfort involved with that, but it's for the purpose of strengthening the body. That kind of leads into it. This can kind of relate to the concept of like instant gratification that we talked about in our episode we did called the magic pill, like why we want it now. And it could be that not only the instant gratification of avoiding the pain, but many times, you can look at the choices like, well, do you want some of this pain and discomfort now, or do you want more of it later? Mm-hmm. Because if you're choosing to always take the easy path, you're going to set yourself up for, at some point, you're going to meet a challenging road and you're not going to be prepared for it. Because mm-hmm. life is just not this little stroll through the park. It's not only easy. So if you're, you can't just choose that over and over again without at some point the difficult choice coming up. There's always going to be a difficult choice. There's always going to be a rough path that at some point you're going to get that reality check and realize you have no fucking choice but to walk down that path. And are you going to do it complaining, or are you going to be willing to do it so you can say, I'm going to take that hard road because it's going to get me there faster? Yes. There's like a mountain. You could choose to go straight over it and get where you're going, or there might be like a really easy path, but it's like way around it. It takes you a long time to get there. Mm-hmm. Being willing to just go through that difficult process, you achieve your goals faster because you are challenging yourself in that way.
Yeah, I like to look at it like this. The pain part, that's inevitable. It's unavoidable. Every choice that you're making is either growing you or it's killing you. Look at it this way. Every choice you make, it's doing one thing or the other. So the expansion, you've heard of growing pains, right? Think of that mm-hmm. as a spiritual concept. It's always growing pains. It's going to hurt at first, even like healing, right? Purging toxins or ripping a fucking hot bullet out of your flesh. Yeah, it's going to hurt really bad at first, but the long-term reward is the desired one, the actual desired mm-hmm. one. Whereas if you left it in, you're avoiding that pain, but it's killing you. That's a perfect metaphor for all of this. You can, do things like yoga or working out or like juice fasting. There's a good one, very uncomfortable, very, very healing. Your discomfort now with long-term benefits and growth and like, wellness versus mm-hmm. the toxic behaviors, fast food, cigarettes, gambling, Netflix, like it's that instant pleasure. It's that sin and that dopamine. But then what is that doing over long-term? Those behaviors are destroying you physically and mm-hmm. mentally.
Right.
So it's like, again, the pain part's inevitable, but you're empowered because you get to choose how you want your pain and what that pain is going towards, right? When you're poisoning your body, is that pain like helping you? Is it actually serving you in any way? No, it's just withering you away. But when you choose that pain in the gym or on the fast or whatever, that pain is serving something. It's getting you somewhere towards that goal.
Right. Yeah, and I think that leads to a good point that you had brought up when we were doing the notes versus like efficiency versus like leveling up. Do you kind of want to break that down for us?
Yeah, it's very important to distinguish if the pain's inevitable, then what does it really matter? And like should you always just try to make your life difficult? Like where do you draw the line? Of course, there's always nuance. There's always a balance point where you can sort of coalesce and synthesize all of these different concepts into the truth, which the truth itself isn't divided. It is all one. So how could you, a good way for me to look at that, to discern, is just simply by asking yourself, what can I gain by doing that? And what would I lose? It's Gabo. It's constant flux of energy in and out. Everything is a business transaction. So just like I said, it's not about the pain. Is that pain serving you? Are you sacrificing, exchanging that pain for spiritual reward of some kind that benefits and manifests in your life? That's how you can really tell the difference. There's no need to just like put yourself through hell for no reason if it's not serving you in any kind of way.
Right.
But that's the thing, is like I found myself even in moments of challenge in past relationships, even in my current relationship, where your emotions are all kinds of messed up. You're triggered, you're angry, and then you start having those negative thoughts like, why am I even doing this? Is it even worth it? And that's a healthy question to ask. That's exactly when when you'll probably get hit with some major realization, because the difficult parts of relationships, we've talked about this as well, how romantic relationships is actually one of the best paths to self-discovery. And especially in the midst of those extremely challenging situations, recurring patterns, things like that test you again and again, the pattern's still there. It's the same. It's waiting for you to jump on the carousel. Every time it goes around, it's waiting for you to hop on and actually get it. Like, oh, this is what I was supposed to learn. This is how I can be empowered to change the trajectory.
Right. Well, and I like that you, in regards to efficiency versus leveling up, I think relationships are a really good example to look at. You can see that like a relationship that is really toxic for you, that doesn't, it's not serving you, that you're like in a constant state of pain to the point it's stagnation, that you're not really like, no matter what you do, no matter what you try, it's just not growing. The other person's, being abusive, doing whatever they may be doing. That's not the type of pain or discomfort you should stay in. If it's unhealthy and you're not gaining anything from it, it's not worth the sacrifice of what you're gaining from it isn't worth the pain you're putting into it, then that's something that you shouldn't stay in. On the other hand, if there's a relationship that, it's very much worth it, but there's some challenging times where there may be things that come up that make you kind of have to step back and reevaluate and like, oh yeah, maybe I was wrong here, whatever that is. That is a discomfort that's happening, that's giving you growth. But the key there that you notice, one is a place of where you're staying in discomfort to the point of stagnation. The other is where you just experience discomfort as a learning experience. You don't have to always be in a place of discomfort, but in life, recognizing that those things are coming up and being willing to go through challenges if you're wanting to achieve something, that's very much different than just feeling like you're stuck or feeling like that, oh, this is just how life is. And then you're not really like gaining anything from that lesson. Cause like you said, you're just kind of, it's like you're standing there watching that carousel go round and round, but then you're never realizing that, I'm supposed to get on it, that kind of thing.
And the point of life is not to homogenize every single experience. So it's so that it's just as like easy and blissful as possible. The point of life is that everything is in constant movement and oscillation, the Hermetic principles, polarity, oscillation. The point is to learn to ride those stronger, to lean into those different fluctuations, masculine and feminine energy. It's all that, it's like Wim Hof. Like you're pushing the boundaries of each swing. Each time you swing a little bit higher, people kind of confused where like balance is all about reaching the perfect center and staying perfectly. But no, it's about learning how to swing harder, because that's where the power is. The positive and negative charge of a battery comes from its polarity. The stronger the positive, and the stronger the negative, the stronger that is. So like you don't want to neutralize it. You want to embolden both sides and know how to use them to your advantage. So it's like swinging between the challenges and the bliss, and the way that you draw the line is when do you feel like enough is enough? When can you reach the point that you can't take it anymore, like where it doesn't feel worth it, where you're not getting enough out of it to justify the struggle, and it's beyond just getting some lessons. It's actually messing with your mental state, your ability to even like tap in and feel connected to your own joy and things like that. That's when it becomes toxic, because those emotions are moving through you faster than you can feel and process them. And that's where, because then that's when it starts building up. It's like, kinking a hose and turning it on full blast. It's not going with the actual flow. And so, even in those times, maybe you don't need to just quit. Maybe you just need to stand back, get back in your zone, and remember who you are. And then with a clearer mind, like getting that bird's eye view up out of the gushing waters of emotion, you can decide from there whether you want to go back in, or if you need more time, or where you're at there. That's, again, it's a more balanced way to approach that.
Right. No, yeah, and I think that's definitely like the key that we're bringing up here. As always, it's about having the balance between these different things, like being willing to go through some discomfort, but not like punishing yourself all the time, or staying stagnant in that. It's just recognizing like the cycles of nature, like you said, and working with them, just like astrologically. When I'm looking at a forecast or something, I see the energy that's going to be at play and things like that. I look for, I'll look for certain shifts and changes that I know are coming up, like transits, and I'll start kind of preparing myself for that. Like, oh yeah, this is the next 18, we were talking about Rahu and Ketu the other day, the next 18 months are going to be, as they shift into Taurus and Scorpio, that's very much going to be a different energy than what we've been going through with, in the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. So, you can see these things, and yeah, it's an energy that's coming up, and then you're just willing to learn how to lean into it. Like you said, it's like a surfer riding a wave. So you can understand that, like, if you were going to go surfing, right, there's probably going to be some times that, like, yeah, you'll crash and you'll fall and you'll experience some discomfort. But that's worth it. If you keep doing that, you're eventually going to get better and better at that. And it becomes more and more fun at that point. So it's just that learning curve,
Yeah. And I mean, really seeing how obvious the cycle aspect is throughout this entire, even with the quote that I mentioned with the weak men, the good times, the strong, and that cycle, because, you need that inner warrior. As they say, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. It's that kind of thing. It's like, don't lose that part of yourself. Keep yourself strong. Keep your blade sharp and ready to take action. But also, enjoy those cycles where there is no war, and you can let your warrior sip from a little like fruity drink on the poolside and kind of relax for a little bit, but then realize that if you keep it that way too long, that warrior's going to forget how to use a sword and et cetera. So like, and again, it's about your choice, your empowerment. This isn't being forced on you. Nobody's saying you have to do this or that. You're choosing to put yourself in the discomfort zone. You're saying, okay, I'm feeling a little stagnant. It's a little too easy street around here lately. I'm ready for some new excitement. I'm ready for some action. I mean, that's what a warrior likes, right? Let's get on the ship and go see some action. They want to go get out and have those experiences. Right. It's fun. It's exciting. It's challenging. I mean, it's like when you play a video game. You have to pick the difficulty correctly. If it's too easy, it's boring, and you're just like God mode. No one kills you, and you just obliterate everything. If it's too hard, it's frustrating because you don't get enough of that fix of passing on to the next level, making to the next checkpoint, to justify the anguish that you're putting yourself through to continue to play the game. So playing it on the correct difficulty to match your ability, again, the confidence, that's where all that ties in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another wonderful example. And I think another thing here too that we could kind of look at this is like the concept of the flow state, and how the flow state really is a balance of both challenge and ability. To really tap into that, you want to have something that is challenging you, that it's making you gain more ability, but you don't want something that's so challenging you can't achieve what you're going after, because then you're not really going to be increasing your ability to do that. So it's that finding that balance of, yeah, if I do this, it's going to create a certain amount of discomfort. It's going to create a certain challenge for me. But I know I have the confidence that if I just work really hard and I stick through it, I will improve my skills as a person. I'll improve my ability to go after more and more challenging things. Yeah, hit me with it.
I've got the perfect analogy for this. So, okay, say you're a singer and you've got some ability, but you need the experience to match that. So how are you going to get your best performance? Okay, so let's say we put you in a nursing home and you get to sing karaoke to some half dying, half asleep old farts. You probably won't actually sing that great. You're not going to be nervous at all because you don't really care about the performance, but you're not going to push yourself to, yeah, hey? You're not going to push yourself to really like show them what you got, because who cares? Like what, their opinions doesn't matter to you, that there's not enough pressure. But then we take you and we put you at like in a filled up Coliseum full of 50,000 people. You're going to shit your pants. You're going to sound like a dying sheep trying to sing because you're so nervous. Your performance has plummeted. But if it's the right setting with just the right amount of people where you care what they think, but it's not so many that it's like overwhelming you, that's where your best performance is going to come out, because the challenge matches the ability that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way to look at that. Yeah, so another kind of thing we could look at here is it's all about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like learning that, like, yeah, okay, this is just part of life, that there's those challenges that we're going to experience, and that's okay. It's okay to feel some discomfort sometimes, because it's just how it is. And to stop trying to run away from that all the time, or even, like I said, if you step into that mindset of the spiritual warrior, that you can say that, oh, I see that I can improve in here. I don't want to be stagnant. So where is my next challenge? Mm-hmm. To where you're always looking for that next challenge. And a discomfort doesn't just have to be like a physical pain or anything. Like like putting yourself through emotional discomfort, or the discomfort of having to say that, like, I was wrong, is a really, really good thing to practice.
Nice.
But you don't want to do it like so much to the point that you're like, oh, I'm always wrong. I can never be right. You know what I mean? You don't want to get down, on that. So again, it's finding this balance point,
And like, yeah, if you're not a singer, but you want to sing, then karaoke would be your best place, because it's just uncomfortable enough, but anybody can karaoke, slam a couple of beers, whatever you need to do. Anybody can do that. They can muster up the courage to do that. And, then once you get over that fear, you find out, hey, that was really fun. Why? Because it was challenging. It kind of pushed you. It gave you a new experience that you hadn't before. And you realized, hey, I didn't die either. And that's always nice. Something as simple as say you step in water, and when you're wearing socks in the bathroom, everybody hates when that happens, right? You get a wet sock, it's cold, it's squishy, and so do you immediately run and oh, I just can't, and you go change your socks? Or what if you're in the middle of something? Are you gonna just ignore that? That's a skill. That's what we're talking about here, is practice ignoring the pain. That's what the pain is doing. It's screaming at your awareness saying, hey, look at me, it hurts, right? It's trying to look out for you. It's trying to protect your physical well-being and everything, but also your conscious can talk back and say, okay, I hear you. I'm fine. We're good. I know what I'm doing. I got this, right? Mm-hmm. That's a useful thing to be able to do, is just push back that voice, be aware of it, but don't let it control you just because it's saying, oh, I got pain. I got to listen to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, that essentially kind of, I think, covers pretty well what we were wanting to get at in this episode. So yeah, it's just, it really is, again, it comes down to that animist or pagan perspective of just looking at life as it is, and being willing to accept all the different parts of it. Enjoy the really, really good times, but enjoy those difficult times too. realize that like, yeah, this thing may be really difficult to go through right now, but I know I'm learning a lot of lessons, or that if I put this work in, the reward that I'm going to get from that is going to be worth it. It's like if you're building a house, yeah, you're going to have to work really, really hard. Probably going to be like out in the heat, and you're going to be tired and, hot and sweaty, or you might, cut yourself probably going to cut yourself a few times during the process, or smash your hand with a hammer. But at the end, you're going to have a home to live in that you do get to enjoy that comfort. So it's being willing to go through that discomfort to step into a place of being more comfortable with life all around.
A quick note too is consider what would give you a sense of pride of something you create. If you had toiled and sweat and broke your damn back building a house, wouldn't it make you really, really proud of that thing that you created, because you learned from experience how challenging it is? That's the thing where like a very childish, immature mindset. I observe this often within myself and others. That's not, a judgmental statement. It's seeing that not respecting others because you haven't experienced what you're putting them through. You're not able to empathize with the effects of your own behavior because you haven't had that experience. And in the same way, you're not going to appreciate things like, kids when they leave the lights on and stuff. They don't have that voice in their head because they don't have to work and pay the bills to keep the lights on. So yeah, I mean, you can really see that at play there.
Well, yeah, so it is about just observing nature and realizing that, like, yeah, this discomfort, a lot of times it'll give you that pride. It'll give you that appreciation because you've went through that challenge. But a lot of times you won't be able to tap into that appreciation or have that pride because you can't be proud of yourself for taking the easy route. It's the challenge that you face and that you conquer that really gives you that sense of accomplishment. This is going to sum up this episode. So, be sure to like and subscribe. That way you get notified when we put out new episodes every week. Go to thewizardfactory.com. Check out all our different services. And if you haven't, we have a free initiation package on there that all you got to do is click it, enter your email, and you'll get a video link for different foundational videos of spiritual practices and things that we use in our practice. Very, different breath work, things like that. And it will also get you access to our Wizard Factory Inner Sanctum group on Facebook, which is a private group, but it's very interactive, very kind of tribe orientated, where we're really wanting to connect with people. So if you're wanting to connect with us personally, that's probably one of the best places to do it. So be sure to go sign. Again, it's a free thing. You totally go get it. Free video series that we created to put out there for you guys. And check out our other services on the website as well. We're expanding those and always bringing more value to you guys to be able to have access to. And until next time, be empowered, be inspired, and be encouraged.